I knew something was wrong the moment I spotted a sleek black SUV parked halfway across my lawn. It was early Saturday morning, and I was nursing a coffee on my porch when I noticed tire tracks gouged into my grass. That alone wasn't too strange until three more cars pulled up like they owned the place, parking at wild angles as if my yard was a valet lot. I'm Ethan Caldwell. I bought this house 3 years ago on the outskirts of Pinecrest Heights. It was a fixer-upper with character, but the real draw was the long, private road that winds up the hill, about a quarter mile, which is part of my property. It's the only paved access to the rest of the neighborhood, technically an easement road. Out of goodwill, and with a signed agreement, I let the HOA use it. But goodwill has its limits, and apparently, so does their common sense. "Excuse me," a sharp voice called from behind a silver Mercedes, now idling in the middle of my rose bed. "You can't block the community parking lot like that." I turned, and there she was, HOA royalty in the flesh. Blonde pixie cut, oversized sunglasses, clipboard clutched like a scepter. Her real name was Sylvia Thornton, HOA president and self-appointed ruler of Pinecrest Heights. I raised an eyebrow. "Community parking lot? That's my yard." She bristled. "Well, it's being used for the Pinecrest Spring Social today. You were sent an email." I don't read HOA emails. They're spam with fancier fonts. Sylvia stepped closer, her heels sinking into the dirt. "Ethan, you're being unreasonable. This is for the community." I glanced at the dozens of folding chairs and tables being unloaded from a U-Haul, dumped onto my lawn like it was a public park. Someone was inflating a bounce house near my shed. "You didn't ask. You didn't get permission. You just turned my yard into your party venue." She scoffed. "You live on HOA property, Ethan." "No, I live on my property. The HOA uses my road because I allow it. Don't mix that up." She waved her clipboard like it was a court order. "No need to get defensive. It's just a few hours. We'll clean up." That's when a kid ran across my porch in muddy sneakers, knocking over my coffee. His mom didn't even glance up from her phone. I took a deep breath. "Sylvia, get these cars off my lawn. Now." "You're being selfish," she snapped. "This is why people don't like dealing with lone wolf types. You're not a team player." I laughed. "You're right. I'm not a team player. I'm the guy who owns the field you're playing on." She blinked, confused. "I suggest you move the party. Because when those cars try to leave tonight, they'll find a locked gate and a long walk home." Her eyes narrowed. "You wouldn't dare." "I absolutely would." She stormed off, muttering about calling the sheriff. I let her go. She clearly forgot the easement agreement she signed when she became HOA president. It stated access to the road could be revoked with written notice and a 10-day window unless there was property damage or misuse, which there was now. I went inside, pulled out the paperwork, and started drafting the notice. By the time the bounce house was fully inflated, the clock was ticking on Pinecrest's free ride. By late afternoon, the hill was swarming with Pinecrest residents like ants at a picnic. SUVs and golf carts lined both sides of the easement road, some parked halfway in the ditch like they'd given up on parking skills. The party was in full swing, blaring music, the smell of grilled burgers, and a rented DJ booth set up on my side yard. Someone had dragged in a generator, its cords snaking across my gravel path like weeds. I didn't step outside again, not yet. I had work to do. The original easement agreement, signed 6 years ago, was crystal clear. Residents could pass through the road, nothing more. No gatherings, no commercial use, no temporary structures, and definitely no events. I scanned it, emailed it to my attorney, Lauren, who called me within 20 minutes. "You've got them dead to rights," she said. "If they're using your land for anything beyond access, it's trespass. If there's damage, it's worse. Can I revoke the easement immediately?" She paused. "If you can document misuse, yes. The clause you included lets you fast-track termination if the property is exploited in ways that obstruct your use or cause harm. But you'll need proof. I've got cameras. 4 of them, 1 on the mailbox post, 1 near the shed, 2 in the driveway trees." "Perfect. Gather footage, document physical damage, and for the sake of due process, don't confront them again until we're ready to file." I nodded, though she couldn't see me. "Anything else?" "Actually, check your property tax records," she said, sounding irritated. "If they're using your land like this, they might have reported it as common area in their HOA filings." That's misrepresentation or worse. That lit a fire under me. I logged into the county assessor's site and pulled every public filing from Pinecrest Heights HOA for the past 5 years. Scrolling through the PDFs, my stomach churned when I found it. A schematic labeled Community Access Road and Shared Green Space, with a dotted overlay across my entire front lot. They'd submitted it as part of a zoning variance for a community center proposal 2 years ago, one that never got approved. But the document was still there, filed with the city, claiming my land as HOA shared space. My phone buzzed. Another call from Lauren. I was right, she said without preamble. They've been using a redrawn parcel map in their annual disclosures, the one you just found. It's not valid, never approved, but they've used it to justify budget allocations and event planning. Is that fraud? Close. It's definitely misappropriation. If they collected dues based on that false map, it could be criminal. I'll contact the county clerk and have the original parcel boundaries certified again. In the meantime, start photographing everything. I grabbed my camera and stepped outside, walking the perimeter like I was documenting a crime scene. Trash littered the grass. One tire had ripped a trench through the sod, and someone had tried to hide it with a party rug. The generator was leaking oil near my hydrangeas. Ethan, a voice called. I turned. A man in a red polo approached, holding a paper plate piled with hot dogs. Greg Hansen, he said, offering a hand. Vice president of the HOA. I didn't take it. Did you know this space doesn't belong to the HOA? He frowned. Pardon, this is private land. You're on it. The entire party is on it. His eyes darted to the tables, the decorations, the bounce house. Well, Sylvia said. Sylvia doesn't own it. I do. And the HOA has no rights here beyond the marked road, which you've all violated. He cleared his throat. I'm sure it was just a misunderstanding. Let me talk to her. Do that. And let her know the easement agreement is being revoked, effective as soon as the paperwork is delivered. Greg's confidence crumbled. Wait, you can't do that. That's the only access into Pinecrest. You'll trap hundreds of residents. No. I'll notify the city and provide temporary access for emergency services and deliveries. But the HOA? They'll need to renegotiate. And this time, it won't be free. He backed away, muttering, and jogged toward the DJ booth. I watched from the porch as the party's vibe shifted. Within minutes, Sylvia reappeared, marching fast, lips pressed tight. You can't do this, she said, stopping at the bottom of my steps. You already did. I'm just responding. There are children here. Families. You'd cut them off from their homes. No, I'll give them access. But you? You're done making decisions involving my property. You used a fraudulent map to justify this event, and you knew exactly what you were doing. That map was submitted in good faith. You mean the one that shows my land as a shared green space? The one attached to a zoning request your board still references in HOA emails. She froze, gears grinding in her head. I've already sent everything to my attorney, I continued. Tomorrow, I'm filing a formal trespass complaint. I'll also contact the city for a cease and desist against the HOA's use of misleading documents. She laughed, but it was shaky. You think the city cares about your little grudge? I think the city cares when someone files false documents to misappropriate private land, especially when the landowner has documented proof, timestamps, and a signed easement agreement violated in broad daylight. Her face paled. Pack up your party, Sylvia. You've got 36 hours before the gate closes and locks. After that, any vehicle parked here will be towed at your expense. She didn't respond, just turned and walked away, her heels punching holes into my ruined lawn. I went inside and uploaded the camera footage. One feed caught someone dragging a grill across the gravel path. Another showed a woman dumping a cooler into my flower bed. And then there was the moment Sylvia directed the DJ to set up on my side of the property, clear as day, pointing and nodding. That evening, I filed the trespass complaint with the sheriff's office. The deputy was surprisingly helpful. Got your footage? He asked. 4 angles. Good. Send it over. If they used your land without permission and caused damage, that's criminal trespass. We can have a deputy present when you post the termination notice. I agreed and set the meeting for Monday morning. By dusk, the party had fizzled out like the bounce house. Half the residents had packed up and left, word spreading fast. I sat on the porch again, this time with a fresh mug and a document folder at my feet. The gate stayed open for now. Monday morning brought the kind of crisp silence that made Saturday's chaos feel like a bad dream. But the tire ruts, oil stains, and trampled flower beds were real enough. At 9 o'clock sharp, Deputy Larson pulled up in a county cruiser, stepped out, and gave me a nod. He wore mirrored sunglasses, clipboard under his arm. Behind him, a city truck rolled up, and a wiry man with a rolled-up blueprint stepped out. Tom Weaver, from the county zoning office, all business. Notice ready? Larson asked. I handed it over. A single-page declaration, typed and signed, revoking the easement immediately based on Clause 7, Section 4 misuse resulting in property damage. I included time-stamped photos, camera stills, and a list of damages. Tom whistled when he saw the comparison between the original plat map and the HOA's altered one. Where'd this come from? He asked, tapping the fake with his pen. Submitted during a variance request 2 years ago. They never got approval, but they've been using it anyway. He shook his head. They drew parcel lines over property they don't own. That's municipal fraud. Larson peered over his sunglasses. You want to press charges? Absolutely. Tom nodded. I'll start the audit. This is going to get messy. They followed me down the gravel path to the gate across the easement road. I unlatched the side panel and flipped the bolt on the main lock. Larson posted the notice on the gate while Tom hammered a temporary zoning violation sign into the ground. We stood there, watching a few early Pine Crest commuters slow down at the sight. A blue sedan crept up, the driver's eyes wide as she read the notice. Larson waved her through, explaining the temporary 24-hour access. After that, it'd require written permission and a new agreement. As the car drove off, Tom turned to me. What's your endgame here? Accountability, I said. And I want them to feel what it's like to lose control over something they thought they owned. He nodded and headed to his truck. Larson stayed another hour, ensuring the notice was respected. By noon, a line of confused residents had formed at the gate, reading the sign and backing up slowly. No one argued. That changed around 2 o'clock. A black SUV with tinted windows screeched up, kicking up dust. Sylvia stepped out in a tailored gray blazer and low heels, dressed for battle. She held a manila folder and marched straight to me. This is harassment, she said. You've gone too far. You submitted a fraudulent map to the city, I replied. That's not a mistake. That's a crime. Her jaw twitched. We had guidance. Our board approved it. Your board doesn't own this land. You never even asked. She shoved the folder at me. This is a petition. Over 100 residents signed it. They demand continued access. I didn't open it. This isn't a democracy. It's my deed. You don't vote on property rights. We've contacted an attorney, she said, voice rising. If you don't reverse this revocation, we'll sue for obstruction of community access. You're welcome to try, but you'd be suing the person who owns the only road into your neighborhood. You want that on record. She faltered, then rallied. We'll claim historical use. Implied easement. You allowed access for years. And I documented every day of it, including the signed agreement that says it's revocable. You violated its terms. That ended the deal. She stared, trying to read me, then turned to Larson. Do you have any idea what kind of disruption this is causing? He didn't blink. Ma'am, your organization misrepresented property lines to the municipal zoning board. That's a felony under state code. Direct your concerns to your legal counsel. She looked ready to combust, but before she could, a second vehicle pulled up an unmarked black sedan with government plates. A man and woman stepped out, both in dark suits, carrying leather binders. One flashed a badge. State Attorney's Office. You Ethan Caldwell? The man asked. Yes. I'm Assistant DA Nathan Cole. This is Investigator Sharma. We're here about the zoning fraud complaint. You filed evidence. I led them inside and handed over the folder I'd prepared. Maps, emails, screenshots, and the original plat certification from the county. Sharma flipped through it while Cole studied the altered map. This was submitted to secure budget approvals? He asked. Yes. They used it to justify event expenses, maintenance fees, and an insurance policy for the so-called shared green space, which is my lawn. Cole nodded. That's wire fraud, misuse of public records, and potentially insurance fraud. You'll hear from us. They left without another word, driving to the HOA's office on the other side of the hill. By evening, word had spread. I watched from my porch as residents gathered at the gate, some reasoning, others visibly angry. But for the first time, none saw me as the bad guy. A few even waved hesitant, but respectful. Something had shifted. The next morning, things worsened for the HOA. A city truck blocked the main HOA clubhouse entrance. Officials measured the grounds, accompanied by 2 officers. A red tag was slapped on the clubhouse door. Property under investigation. By noon, Sylvia had vanished. No one saw her leave, but a board member named Victor was suddenly in charge. He showed up at my gate, out of breath and pale. "Mr. Caldwell," he said, wringing his hands. "We'd like to talk about a new agreement. A proper one, with compensation." I crossed my arms. "Submitted in writing. I hear you're also looking to dissolve the current board. Clean slate. New oversight," he said. "We didn't know what was being submitted. You all signed the annual reports." He swallowed. "We were misled. You were complicit." He nodded, ashamed. "We want to make it right." I handed him a printed copy of my new terms. Monthly compensation for road access, maintenance fees, a clause requiring written notice of any event within 300 feet of my property, and a strict boundary map signed by the county. He took it with shaky hands. "If you agree," I said, "I'll consider reopening the gate. But only after the DA completes the investigation. Until then, you're on foot." Victor didn't argue. As he walked away, I noticed a group of residents watching from the road's edge. One stepped forward, an older woman with gray hair and a walker. "Mr. Caldwell," she called. "Yes. Thank you. We were never okay with what they did. We just didn't know how to stop it." "That's what gates are for," I said. "To remind people where the line is." She smiled faintly and turned away. That night, I locked the gate again, not out of spite, but principle. For years, they assumed the road was theirs because no one said otherwise. Now they knew better. I wasn't just the guy at the top of the hill anymore. I was the one who owned it.